Hi, Eddie Murray, former Detroit Lion. Make sure you watch Mike on Mike on YouTube.
What's going on YouTube? This is your boy Mr. Micro Mike, and today we're going to talk about Detroit Lions versus the Green Bay Packers, key matchups, prediction, and analysis for the big showdown between the Lions at Green Bay on Monday Night Football. Before I get into the video, tonight is Above the Rim at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I believe on Detroit Drew's channel, so make sure you are there. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please do so. Hit the bell for all my notifications and leave me a comment and tell me what you think. With that said, let's begin. We'll start with the quarterback position of the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions quarterback is Matthew Stafford. He has 88 completions for 141 attempts, 62.4 completion percentage, 1,122 yards, 8 average, with 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 7 sacks, with a rating of 102.6. Right now, Matthew Stafford's having a fairly good year. He's definitely rebounding from last year where the offense was just utterly terrible, bringing his numbers down. He's definitely doing more of that gunslinging ability like he has done in years past. He's throwing more down the field. He's definitely getting the ball to his playmakers, and he is definitely needling the thread when need be. He has been making a couple of mistakes, though, as well, as we know, as the gunslinger mentality. He understands the pressure this year. His feet has been up way above par, feeling the pressure, getting out of the pocket, whether he gets the first down with his legs or passing it to one of his playmakers. Matthew Stafford's having a great year, and I see it continuing against the Green Bay Packers. Now, the Green Bay Packers, we all know, has quarterback Aaron Rodgers. He's had 113 completions for 180, 62.8 completion percentage, 1,307 yards, 7.3 average, with 6 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a 93.4 rating. Aaron Rodgers is not having the elite year that we're used to seeing when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. I believe, though, that their team is becoming more of whole as the defense is starting to pick up a little bit. But when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, you're not seeing the insane Aaron Rodgers. He's still a really good quarterback. He definitely feels the pressure as well. He gets out of the pocket and makes plays with his legs and making sure his weapons get open by extending the play. Aaron Rodgers is definitely a threat when it comes to quarterback, and he's an individual that's always in the game. When it comes to comparing the quarterbacks and what I think will take place, I give advantage to no one. I think this is a draw, and the reason why I give this as a draw is the Detroit Lions are on the road. If it was at Detroit, I would actually give Matthew Stafford a 0.5 above Aaron Rodgers because he's just having a really good year. But since it's going to be at Green Bay, you know the 12th man is going to be extremely loud, considering the fact that the Packers are 4-1 and the Lions are 2-1, and the winner of this game will have a great advantage towards taking the NFC North. The Detroit Lions has played Aaron Rodgers very hard as of late, and I see it continue. So when it comes to advantage, I say draw. Let's also talk about the offensive lines with the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have Taylor Decker, they have Joe Dahl, they have Frank Ragnow, they have Glasgow, and right tackle Wagner. Right now, their offensive line is doing a fairly decent job when it comes to pass protection. Initially, it started really bad. However, after Taylor Decker got benched and he had an injury with his back, the offensive line has done great. The first game, they did not do well. The second and third game, they did not receive any sacks to Matthew Stafford, but against Kansas City, there was a couple pressure sacks. Overall, when it comes to pass protection, they're definitely getting better. Now, when it comes to opening up the holes, the issue with the Lions is opening up the holes, and I think they're not doing a great job there. They need to do a better job of getting those holes up in the middle, so Kerryon Johnson, whoever's in the backfield, go ahead and open up those holes. Let's jump to the Green Bay Packers offensive line. The Green Bay Packers has got Bakhtiari, Brian Bulaga, Corey Linsley, Adam Pankey, and Patrick. When it comes to the offensive line of the Green Bay Packers, they've done a decent job with pass protection. It's a little more than sacks when it comes to the Detroit Lions, but then you got to understand that Aaron Rodgers is definitely an individual that likes to run out of the pocket and try to make plays, so of course you're going to get a little more sacks in that sense. But the issue with them is injuries. Right now, they seem to be getting injuries on the offensive line, and people are going in and out, and the chemistry is probably going to be a little lackluster when it comes to opening up the holes. There's similar stance when it comes to the Detroit Lions. They're opening up a little bit of holes, but they definitely need to do better, specifically in the interior. When I compare these two offensive lines, I'm going to give advantage to Detroit of 0.5, specifically because of the injuries. I don't know who's going to play for the Green Bay Packers, and that's probably going to be a game-time decision. When it comes to the Lions, everyone's healthy, so we know who's going to be in there. So advantage Detroit, 0.5. Let's go ahead and jump to the running game. The Detroit Lions has Kerryon Johnson, who has 74 attempts for 251 yards, average 3.4, long 14, 62.8 yards a game percentage. He has 1 touchdown and 1 fumble. When it comes to the running game for the Detroit Lions right now, in my opinion, it's depending on the hole. The offensive line has not performed to the task of really opening up the hole for any of the running backs. I think that's what's kind of taking it down. To get this game to get better when it comes to the running game, the Detroit Lions simply need to open up the holes. But when it comes to this offense, the Lions are not giving up on the run. They're definitely balanced, and Kerryon Johnson's going to get a lot of these balls. They also have McKissick, but he's being utilized more as screenplay, something that Theo Riddick as well. So he has 7 attempts for 76 yards, average 10.9. And he has 0 touchdowns, but 2 big plays. And when it comes to McKissick, he's an individual that out of nowhere he'll get the ball and he'll make big-time plays. So that will be an X factor, really, that I don't think anyone's going to pay attention to because you don't hear about him a lot. But he's definitely being utilized a lot. When it comes to the Green Bay Packers, it's very similar. They got, when it comes to running back, Jones, 78 attempts for 302 yards, 3.9 average, long 18. He has 8 touchdowns, though, with 1 forced fumble loss. When it comes to the running game, they're starting to get a little more balanced on offense instead of specifically paying attention to Aaron Rodgers and making him do everything. However, I think it's the same case with the running game. The offensive line is a little banged up for the Green Bay Packers, and they probably could do better, but the holes got to open up a little bit. But when it comes to red zone, they're definitely giving the running back a lot. They also got Williams, who has 26 attempts for 87 yards, 3.3 yards, with a longest of 12. Now, he doesn't have any fumbles lost or touchdowns, and he's an okay complement, but definitely not their strong suit when it comes to the running game. When I give advantage to this, I'm actually going to give it a 0.5 to the Green Bay Packers. And the reason that I'm giving a 0.5 is the Detroit Lions are on the road, and Jones has got 8 touchdowns to Kerryon's 1. Even though the numbers are a little bit similar, you got to understand, though, that the Green Bay Packers has played one more game more than the Lions, so the number's going to be down. However, again, I just feel that the offensive line for the Lions has got to communicate well in this game. It's going to be very hard with that 12th man, considering the fact this is going to be a big-time game. So I do give the advantage rushing to the Green Bay Packers. Now let's go ahead and jump to the wide receivers. We'll start with the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions has Marvin Jones. He has 18 receptions, 24 targets for 277 yards, average of 15.4. He has 1 touchdown, long of 33. What's good about Marvin Jones is he's definitely getting open. What we're seeing in Detroit is with all the weapons, these players are getting open, and Marvin Jones is taking advantage of that. Every time the ball comes his way, he's catching it. He's making big-time plays on big downs, and that's what's helping the Lions to beat against the Eagles as well as beat against the Los Angeles Chargers. And so it's imperative they keep feeding him the ball, and they will do so. The Lions also got Kenny Galladay, who has 19 receptions for 36 targets, 243 yards, average of 12.8. His longest was 33 as well, with 4 touchdowns. Kenny Galladay is big, tough, and he is making the big-time catches and catches that you wouldn't believe a wide receiver can get. He has that strength. He has that ability. Matthew Stafford can throw it up even if he's double covered, and he still gets it because he's very strong, and he can jump very high, and he's got great hands. Kenny Galladay is having a really good year, and he's definitely an individual that the Green Bay Packers got to pay attention to, specifically when the Lions get down near the red zone. The Lions also have Damian Ndola, who has 11 receptions for 19 attempts for 141 yards, 1 touchdown, and his longest is 47. What's good about Damian Ndola is his third down play, making the big-time catch when it counts on third down to keep the drive going. The issue with Danny Amendola is injury. He did not play last week. due to the injury sustained with his chest. And the question is he going to play? In my opinion, he does play. I think that's simply going to happen, and he will definitely be a big-time factor and an X factor against the Green Bay Packers. Now, let's start with the Green Bay Packers and their wide receivers. They have Davante Adams, who has 25 receptions for 36 targets, 378 yards, 15.1 yards a carry, and he is a big-time playmaker for the Green Bay Packers. He is an excellent wide receiver, and he can make plays. The issue with him is he did not play last week, and there's a good chance, a really good chance, he does not play against the Detroit Lions, and that is a huge advantage for the Lions secondary. The Lions secondary is extremely, extremely underrated, and maybe the best secondary in all of football. And the receiving threats, the wide receivers, are definitely going to have to stand out if Adams cannot play. They also got Valdez-Scantling, who has 17 receptions, 32 targets, 235 yards, 13.8, one touchdown, long of 47. He's definitely doing fairly well when it comes to being a number 2 wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. He's starting to get good numbers from Aaron Rodgers. It does help when your quarterback is very, very accurate, and that's what Aaron Rodgers is. But he's doing a decent job as the number 2, and that's someone that the Detroit Lions got to pay attention to. If Adams can't go, Darius Slay needs to stick on him. They also got Allison, who has 10 receptions, 17 targets for 104 yards, average 10.4. He has 2 touchdowns, long of 31. He's an okay third wide receiver. They definitely don't have the big-time names when it comes to wide receivers, but they got just enough. They utilize, in Green Bay, a lot more of all their players when it comes to wide receivers, or running backs being used as wide receivers, and same with tight ends. When it comes to Allison, he's okay. As someone we got to pay attention to near the red zone since he's got the 2 touchdowns. When it comes to wide receiver advantage, I give a massive advantage to the Detroit Lions of 2 points. The Detroit Lions just outmatched them when it comes to the wide receivers. The wide receivers for the Lions are making plays all over the field, and it's because of all the weapons on offense doing so with the tight ends, and we're going to get into that right now. Let's jump to the tight ends of the Detroit Lions. Has T.J. Hockenson, who has been beasting out. He has 11 receptions for 19 yards, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns, long of 39. T.J. Hockenson is a big-time weapon for the Detroit Lions. The issue is he going to play? He got knocked out of the game at Kansas City, i.e. concussion. However, he was at a college game this weekend. Considering the fact that concussions, you don't want to be around loud noise. To me, it sounds the fact that he's going to play. What's good about T.J. Hockenson, he's not just big in the receptions, he's big at pass blocking and blocking for the running back. He is a mauler. He may be the best mauler in the league, and if you go behind him running the game, they're definitely going to make some holes open. They also got Jesse James and Logan Thomas, who's doing a great job as well. Logan Thomas has 5 for 5, 47 yards. When T.J. Hockenson went down, he was mauling people as well, and taking those receptions. And he was catching everything that Matthew Stafford threw his way, and that's what's great. Jesse James has 5 for 7, 46 yards, averaging 9. What's good about him is he makes the big catch on the big third down. When the Detroit Lions defeated their opponent, they used Jesse James to get that first down against the Los Angeles Chargers to finish the game. And that's what's good about the Lions' weapons, is they catch everything their way. So when it comes to the Green Bay Packers, we all know who they got. They got Jimmy Graham. He has 12 for 19, 132 yards, averaging 11 with 2 touchdowns. Jimmy Graham is a great threat when it comes to catching the ball. He's a very elusive tight end. He can get open and he catches stuff his way. He's definitely starting to get longer in the tooth, but he's still a great weapon for the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. What's good about him, again, is he gets open and he can be utilized in the red zone. That's something the Detroit Lions has got to be aware of. He's not big known for running or blocking and opening up the holes for the running game, but he's definitely a threat when it comes to that. So they also got Lewis for 5 for 10 for 69 yards, as well as Tanyan 4 for 6 for 66 yards. So not crazy numbers, but definitely individuals that Aaron Rodgers will target if they're open. Let's go ahead and jump to the defensive line of the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions has a very decent defensive line. We'll start with Trey Flowers. He's got 1 sack. He's did not start off well so far throughout the last couple of games, but the last game they're starting to pick it up. He was not in training camp, and he did not do a whole lot of training, but you notice the last game against the Kansas City Chiefs, they're starting to get a little more pressure, and they're starting to stop the run, and it does help when you got a man in there who knows the scheme. Also, they got A'Shawn Robinson, who has been a beast so far this year. A'Shawn Robinson is breaking through the offensive line. He is batting down balls a lot, and he's making a lot of tackles. A'Shawn Robinson right now is doing a great job when it comes to stopping the run and getting to pressure. For what position we utilized him at, it was kind of shocking that he's doing so well, but he is. We also got Snacks Harrison, who's known for stopping the run and who's okay when it comes to rushing the pass. Right now, he's not having the best year, but again, when it comes to training camp, he was not utilized. I'm not sure if that's the reason why he's having a down year, but they did get better against the Kansas City Chiefs, and right now, the offensive line of the Green Bay Packers are a little shook up due to injuries. They also utilize a different scheme over there for Detroit. So we utilize a lot of linebackers that play in the edge as well. We got Kennard, who is got 11 solo tackles, 4 assists, and he's got 3 sacks. He's definitely doing well on the edge. When put there, he's getting pressure on the quarterback, and it's a hybrid system. We also, the X factor for the Detroit Lions is Deshaun Hand. He has not played this year so far, and he may be able to play versus the Green Bay Packers. If he plays, is definitely going to boost the defensive line of the Detroit Lions, as he is a very, very stout player going after the quarterback as well as stopping the run. Rookie last year, and he led all defensive tackle rookies and was an absolute beast for the Detroit Lions defensive line. Let's go ahead and jump to the Green Bay Packers. Clark, for a defensive tackle, he has 1.5 sacks in the season. He's doing well when it comes to stopping the run, as well as, surprisingly, to rush the passer a little bit. He's done a great job in that sense. When it comes to the defensive ends for the Green Bay Packers, they also use somewhat of a hybrid system there as well. You'll see the linebacker, Smith, he has 5.5 sacks so far in the season, so they like to mix it up there in Green Bay, just like the Detroit Lions do, as well as Gary has 1 sack. That's something that we're going to pay attention to. They don't have absolute studs at the end like you would think, but they definitely utilize their linebackers in those packages. Also, they got Martinez as a linebacker who's got a sack, so they get pressure, whether it be blitz or throwing some of those linebackers on the edge. When it comes straight up their defensive tackles and defensive ends, again, they utilize the hybrid seam. So they got Keck as well. He's a defensive tackle. Not a whole lot on the stat sheet, but he's okay when it's stopping the run. And they got Adams as well. So when it comes to the defensive line specifically, I say the Detroit Lions has an advantage of 1 point advantage. The Detroit Lions has got a lot of players that can be played on the line and only be rushing 4 instead of throwing their linebackers in there. As you've seen last game against Kansas City Chiefs, they were starting to get pressure just with that 4, and that's how they shut down Patrick Mahomes, with the 4, and they threw the linebackers out there and with their secondary. Let's go ahead and jump to the linebackers of the Detroit Lions. The linebackers has Jared Davis. He is definitely having a very well year this year. I'm not sure why PFF is getting him such a bad grade, but Jared Davis is very fast in the ball. He's doing decent when it comes to staying with the tight end this year compared to last year. I think last year the stigma is still staying on him for whatever reason, but he's definitely very fast. He's rushing the passer when need be, and he's getting a lot of tackles this year, as Davis right now is got. And you got to understand that when it comes to Davis, he was injured for the first couple of games. He's really starting to come in his own and get better. Sorry, he does not have a sack. He only has 10 solo tackles. But he's doing decent in coverage, and he's getting a lot of negative press, and I don't believe it to be real. I think it's a little bit off. We also got Jelani Tavai, the linebacker, the rookie. He's got 12 tackles for 1 sack. What's good about Tavai is they throw him on the end as well due to their hybrid scheme. He can play out and in. He's a great linebacker. His sense of understanding where the ball is great. He's very feisty and very fast. It's something that the Green Bay Packers and specifically Aaron Rodgers is going to have to pay attention to because, in my opinion, he could be the X factor for this game. They also got Devin Kennard again. We utilize him as well as a linebacker as well as a defensive end. He's having a really good year again with the 3 sacks and 15 tackles, so he's really having a good year. The Detroit Lions, though, when it comes to linebackers versus the Green Bay Packers, I'm going to give this a wash because, again, the linebackers a wash because, again, they both utilize their linebackers in different ways. As you see a lot of more sacks when it comes to Green Bay Packers, but Detroit Lions will sometimes rush and then sometimes stay in the back. The Green Bay seems to do a little more blitzing, so I give it a wash, so advantage no one. Let's go ahead and start with the Detroit Lions secondary. The Detroit Lions will start with the safety position has Tyron Walker, and Detroit Lions has Tracy Walker as well as Stephon Diggs. Now, Tracy Walker is having a really good year. He's got 36 tackles, and he has got an interception. He's playing very well against the scheme that they're throwing him in. He seems to understand where the ball is going to be. He's always where the ball is at, and that's what's making him a fantastic player. He is leading the defense with 36 total tackles. He's phenomenal. He can play even as a corner if need be. He can play man-to-man, and that's what really helped the Lions kind of understand what the Kansas City Chiefs were doing, is he has that ability. Stephon Diggs has got Quandre Diggs has got 16 tackles. What's good about Quandre Diggs is he hits you in the mouth, and he is very, very poundful. He definitely plays well. Again, when he's matched up, whether it be with the tight end or as well as a wide receiver, the one issue with him is he's got to tackle a little bit better. He hits so hard sometimes he forgets to wrap up, but these definitely 2 safeties are fantastic for the Detroit Lions. Now let's go ahead and jump to the safeties for the Green Bay Packers. They got safety Arnos, has got 28 tackles, and he's got 1 interception. He's doing well as well. I think he came from the Chicago Bears. He's definitely one of their best playmakers on their defense and ability to really stay with wide receiver as well. This is something that the Detroit Lions got to pay attention to and understand where he's at. Matthew Stafford's got to pay attention to where he's at, because he is the best safety on their team. They also got Redmond, who's got 21 tackles, and he's an okay safety as well. I think they got better on defense a little bit this year, and that's what makes Green Bay, why they're starting 4-1, is their defense got a little bit better, and it definitely starts with their secondary and how they're being utilized, and Redmond is a piece there. When it comes to going against the Detroit Lions, though, I give the advantage to Detroit of 1 point. Detroit Lions secondary is elite, and they're going to find out in Green Bay just how well this secondary is. And if the Lions could get pass rush, it's going to be even more scarier. They can shut people down like no other. Even if the quarterback has got time in the pocket, they're still on those wide receivers, and it starts with the safety position. So advantage Detroit. Let's go ahead and jump to the cornerbacks of the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions cornerbacks is got the best, in my opinion, 3 cornerbacks combination in the league. You start with Darius Slay. Darius Slay is big play Slay. He is definitely an individual that can lock down their best player, and he makes big time plays. What's great about Darius Slay is when it's time to make a play, when they need to get an interception, he does it. He absolutely does it. Sometimes he can get roasted a little bit, as we've seen in years past, but don't ever count him out making a big-time play. With that interception against the Los Angeles Chargers, won him the game, and that's what he does. He go against the best wide receiver for the team, and he does a decent job. Now you got to understand that the Green Bay Packers' number 1 wide receiver is not going to be in the game, so Darius Slay will potentially be with their number 2. They also got Rashaan Melvin, who right now is having a fantastic year as a number 2. He's got 18 tackles, total of 19 with the assisted of 1. The guy is a straight beast. He is, when he's covering one-on-one, you just can't get it his way. He is stickier than stick. He's absolutely dominating the number 2 wide receiver, And we seen last against the Kansas City Chiefs, he can stop the number one as well. Rashawn Melvin, between him and Darius Slay, is just a scary, scary combination that every quarterback's got to pay attention to. And let's not forget about Coleman, who we picked up in free agency. Coleman is an absolute stud as well. He plays in against the number 3 wide receiver. Coleman has just been beasting like no other. He is sticky. He is on the wide receiver. He is knocking the ball out of the way. And he is just on a different level. Right now. And right now, the secondary of the Detroit Lions is absolutely scary. Just absolutely scary. And Aaron Rodgers is going to have to pay attention to, or he's going to make a lot of interceptions if he doesn't. Let's go ahead and jump to the cornerbacks of the Green Bay Packers. They got King. He's got 19 solo tackles with 4 assisted, 23. He's also got, I believe he's got an interception as well. He's got 2 interceptions. When it comes to King, he is definitely a playmaker as well. And that's something that Matthew Stafford's going to have to pay attention to. King will probably be with Kenny Galladay the whole way. And Kenny Galladay has got to make sure that he is open. And Matthew Stafford's got to pay attention to. Because if Matthew Stafford starts throwing errant throws a little bit, or he throws off his back foot, we definitely can turn the ball over, and King is an individual who's known to be getting interceptions, and he is one of their best secondary pieces out there. They also got Alexander, who's got 13 tackles, 5 assisted with 18 total all. He's also got an interception, so he's a pretty decent number 2 as well. He'll probably go against Marvin Jones, and it's very imperative that Matthew Stafford pays attention to these cornerbacks and that these wide receivers get open. Make sure that you don't let them beat you on the line, and if he does that, then Matthew Stafford can take advantage. But they definitely got some good secondary pieces out there. They also got Williams, who has got 8 solo tackles with 3 assisted, total of 11. He's a decent third cornerback for the team of the Green Bay Packers, and it's imperative that the Detroit Lions pay attention to him as well. But when it comes to advantage, I'm going to give the Detroit Lions advantage of 1.5. Right now, the Lions secondary is the best part of their team, and they are straight dominating right now. It's very, very awesome to see this secondary comes together, and if that defensive line can get a little bit of pressure, they're going to make a lot more plays. But what's very important about a team in the X Factor is injuries, and let's go ahead and look at the injuries for the Detroit Lions. As we all know, the Detroit Lions has not had a hand for a while. Deshaun Hand should be good to go in my opinion, but he's still a question mark. They also got Darius Slay, who injured himself 2 weeks ago with a hamstring injury. That's going to be a question mark. I do think he plays again. We had that bye week, and he didn't play against Kansas City Chiefs. To me, that's a good enough time for him to be back. And they should be good to go for sure. Also, TJ Hawkinson had a concussion against Kansas City, but again, I believe he is a full go. So when it comes to the Detroit Lions and injuries, they're not too bad. We had a couple again against Kansas City, but the injuries are not long-term, and I believe a lot of them are going to be good to go. Now, the Green Bay Packers has Devontae Adams, who did not practice as well as did not play last week. I don't think he's good to go. I think he will not be able to play. Montavious Adams also is injured for the Green Bay Packers. It'll be interesting to see if he plays as well as Arnos' biceps, but he was a full practice. He'll probably be good to go. You got to walk for their offensive line. They had a couple injuries on the offensive line. Obviously, Brian Bulaga for them as well is injured. So they need to understand if these guys play or not. We don't know. I don't know. Who knows if these guys play or not? This is a question mark that I'm not 100% sure on. Also, Kevin King, he's got a groin injury, and he did not practice before the game of the Dallas Cowboys. So when it comes to the injuries, there's a lot of question marks, and that will be more of coming near the game. But that's something that we don't know. It's just an X factor. You have no idea right now, but we'll find out in a little bit. When it comes to the score and predictions, I give the Detroit Lions winning this game of 32 22-24. I believe the Detroit Lions will win this game. Right now, they're starting to really work as a whole team on all three phases are really good. There's not a whole lot of dysfunction in one specific phase, and right now they're starting to charge. They really showed progress throughout each game, and they took that loss against Kansas City, and it wasn't hurting them mentally, man. They took it in there as they know they got to get better, but they should have won that game. Now, the Green Bay Packers, again, is really good. They're 4-1. I just think that the Detroit Lions are going to overmatch them in Green Bay. With that said, folks, tell me what you think, what I did right, what I did wrong, what the predictions for you guys are. Adios.